What's up? Todd Smith, True Grind Ministries. I'd like to talk to you guys today. We're going to come out of the book of Matthew, chapter 14, and I'm going to start in verse 15. It says, "As evening approached, the disciples came to him, Jesus, and said, 'This is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food.' Jesus replied, 'They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat.' And the disciples replied, 'We have here only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish,' they answered. And so Jesus said, 'Bring them here to me,' he said. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people." And so the thing is, you know, when we hear about this story, or even if you read that story, you know, right off the bat, you think Jesus fed the multitude. You know, it's always Jesus did this and Jesus did that. And in reality, it was the disciples that fed. Do you see that when Jesus comes to you and says, "Come follow me," as a rabbi, as a teacher, he comes to you because he thinks that you can be like him. Do you understand? And when he said to him in verse 16, said, "They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat." And they replied, "All we have is 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish." And it's so true in our lives. You know, we look at our lives and we say, you know, I don't have much. You know, I got this little job. You know, I don't know much word. You know, I'm not very versed in the Bible. You know, who am I to help? You know, I don't have much. And Jesus says, "Come, bring what you have. Bring it to me. Bring me your 2 fish and your 5 loaves of bread." And then when Jesus, he takes and he blesses the food and he gives it back to the disciples, 5,000 people were fed, and they had 12 baskets of leftovers. So, yeah, it's true, we don't have much. And if we hang on to what we have, then we'll not only not have enough for ourselves, we won't be able to bless anybody else. But if we'll just bring Jesus what we have, then he puts that holy arithmetic or whatever it is on it, and he gives it back to you. And it says the disciples were the ones that actually did the feeding. And so whatever you have today, I encourage you to give it all to him. You see, it didn't say, bring me 1 of the fish and 2 of the loaves of bread and you hang on to the rest. And that's what happens is so many times we give God about 75% or 90%, but we always want to hang on to something. You know, because it's a very uncomfortable feeling to have given everything away. But if we'll just trust him, if we'll give him everything today, then he promises here from this story that he'll multiply it and give it back to you, blessed to be a blessing. God bless you guys. Be encouraged.